Hello and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to do a collection of Stephen King book and film. We'll start right at the very beginning with Carrie from 1976, the film, the book from 74. A brilliant book. I love the way it's written. It's part third person, part an expose and bits and pieces from published work after the event. Very good book and a very good film. Brian De Palma's probably the first Brian De Palma film I saw, which I really love. So Carrie gave me a lifelong love of Stephen King books and Brian De Palma films. Can't speak too highly of either. Really good. I have heard people recently say, oh, Carrie looks dated now. Well, the only thing dated about it is the fashions and the hairstyles. The actual film itself is still as good as anything put out today, and it's miles better than the recent remake. Then we have Salems Lot. Brilliant book, this. Vampire infects a small town in New England. Really well done. A terrific novel. I was going to say sort of soap opera-ish, but I don't mean that in a bad way. A huge cast of characters. The town itself is a character, and it all centres on the Marsden house here. Excellent novel. Can't rate it highly enough again. And then we have this mini-series, Rob Lowe. This was the second mini-series done. When I first saw this, I didn't really like it. I didn't think much of it, but then I'd reread Salem's Lot and watched it. I was going to sell this, and I thought I'll watch it before I get rid of it. And there was quite a lot in the book in there that I hadn't realised at the time, especially in Rob Lowe's narration. We get Mr. Barlow, who is actually represented here more as he is in the book, whereas in the original 1977 TV version, Toby Hooper's Salem's Lot, he is very much Nosferatu. This mini-series, for its time, is excellent. Still gives you chills. I remember watching this when I lived at home. Didn't think any of the rest of the family would be interested in watching it, so I watched it in my bedroom on my 12-inch black and white TV, and it was creepy as hell. We get to the bit with Danny Glick floats by the window, and the "oh Jesus" from below let me know that the rest of my family, especially Mum, were actually watching it. So the next night we watched it all together on the colour telly for the second part. Really good. If you haven't seen it, get it, but make sure you get the full version, 184 minutes. There was a edited version to feature length which completely balls it up. Don't get that one. And on to The Shining, the masterpiece of modern horror. This is a great film and a great book. The book is really well worth reading. If you only know Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, you don't know The Shining. Totally different. No, The Shining, I love The Shining, it's a good film, but it's not a good adaptation of a Stephen King book. It is Stanley Kubrick's Shining. He bought the book rights, and from the outset he said he was going to change things up. There is so much left out of this, but then again there's so much put in. And I remember seeing it when it first came out and reading reviews, and it was slated, more or less slated. And the one thing where Jack goes for his interview, if I was the bloke interviewing him, I would have got back to the agency and said, can you send me someone who's not unhinged? Because even from the outset, Jack Torrance in this is unhinged. But having said that, still love the film. That's the long version, which is the best one to watch, and this novel you have to read. Next up we have Night Shift, which is a series of short stories. I love short stories, always have done, and this is a fantastic collection. Includes things like The Mangler, which I think was made into a film, Trucks, which I'm pretty sure Stephen King himself made as I can't remember the name of it now. Sometimes They Come Back, which I've got here. It also has The Ledge and Quitters Inc., which became two stories of the portmanteau film Cat's Eyes, which is very, very good. And it does have Children of the Corn as well, which had a life of its own, so to speak. So, got this a while ago. It was cheap. Sometimes They Come Back. Couldn't remember if I'd seen it before or not. I actually had. And it's an okay film. It's not terrible. Quite good in places. I've not seen the sequels because I think they're pretty dire. Then on to King's magnum opus, The Stand. I think this was about the third Stephen King book I read, and at the time it was probably the longest book I'd read at the time. It's a massive tome, brilliant story, fantastic, well done. This is the original published version. There is an uncut version with quite a few more pages. I didn't like that one so much. There was bits at the beginning which I thought were unnecessary. There was a lot of stuff with I can't remember the character's name now. The main girl in it, her mother, which it just sort of, no, I didn't like that. But the bit with the kid I thought was brilliant, and I'm glad they reinstated that. And of course it was made into a TV miniseries back in the 90s, 4 parts. It's not a bad adaptation considering the limits of what they were allowed to do on telly back then. Another one with Rob Lowe in to this. It's well worth getting hold of, and it's got a pretty good cast. Yeah, I just love it. Ray Walston as the old guy is fantastic. When I'm reading the book, I hear his voice as that character. Apparently there is a new version coming out sometime soon, to which Stephen King says he's written a different ending again, so we look forward to seeing that one. And one of my absolute all-time favourites, The Dead Zone. When I read this, I was absolutely knocked out. It's a fantastic, well-plotted book. The ending has to be. The film doesn't quite get that, but it's a David Cronenberg film. It is brilliant. I love this film. Great acting all round. Great script. Christopher Walken just knocks it out of the ballpark. He's brilliant. The only thing I must say, this needs a decent Region B Blu-ray release. Come on, Arrow, get a hold of this one and do your business with it. One of my favourite films. I absolutely love it. When it was first released on VHS and DVD, it was slightly trimmed, but now it's all back together. It's really good. But yeah, come on, let's have a decent Blu-ray of it. Fantastic. A brilliant film and a brilliant book. Right, different seasons. Because this is Stephen King, of course we've got to have a cover like this. Relates absolutely to nothing in the book itself. This is 4 novellas, and all but one have been made into successful, well, Okay, 2 successful films, 1 not, and 1 never even made. Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, obviously know what that was made of. Apt Pupil, which was a Bryan Singer film, which didn't get the love it deserves. It's not a bad film. And The Body, which became Stand By Me. This is a great read, because apart from Breathing Method, none of these are horror stories really. They're just brilliant stories. Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption, I loved it the moment I read it. Brilliant. And then we get Frank Darabont's brilliant, fantastic film version, which absolutely bombed at the box office for some reason. People didn't know about it. Maybe they didn't realise what it was. I know Morgan Freeman says it's the title put people off, but I don't know. People are just stupid. It got its second wind on home video, and of course now it's one of the most revered films of all time. Brilliant cast, brilliant crew, brilliantly written and directed by Frank Darabont. I have to say, he even expands upon King's novella and improves on it. It's that good. And then we have Stand By Me, Rob Reiner's brilliant coming of age film. I love this. It's brilliant. I would really like to get this on Blu-ray at some point. Fantastic cast. Just such a great film. Yeah, I mean, the first time I got this DVD, I watched it. I'd already seen it before, obviously. And as soon as it ended, I put it on again with the commentary. Just loved it. Excellent. 2 fantastic films, 1 fantastic book. And then we're on to Pet Sematary. This, as you can see, is a Signet paperback, which obviously came all the way from America. I think my mum brought this back when she went over to see her sister in California. Love that artwork. That's great. Old church there. A fantastic novel. I don't know what Penny's doing in there. One that Stephen King said he would never publish, but he did publish it to get out of a contract. And then the original film. I've not seen the remake. I'm not too sure about that. This is a really good film. I mean, the Zelda bit just creeped me out the first time I saw it. It still does, actually. Find it, ugh. A great film, and Fred Gwynne is Judd Crandall. I mean, you can't have anyone other than Fred Gwynne as Judd Crandall. It's not going to work for me, I'm afraid. This is a really good film. I think this was sort of put down quite a bit when it was released, but it's sort of got a bit more love now. And of course, as soon as a remake comes out, it's never going to be as good as the original. Maybe it isn't, maybe it is. I haven't seen it yet, but excellent stuff. Skeleton Crew, another short story collection, and another Frank Darabont, Stephen King. A great collection of stories here. The first one is The Mist, and it's brilliant. There are some other ones I don't know. Well, The Raft, that was part of Creepshow 2. I don't know which other ones are. Big Wheels, Tales of a Laundry Game, I've seen that. But a great collection of short stories. I love short stories, as I said before, and Stephen King writes really good short stories, and every so often he'll publish a volume of them, and long may it continue. And The Mist, which I really like. It's great. I wished I'd actually got hold of the Blu-ray at the time, but when the Blu-ray was out, I don't think I'd have converted to it then. But the Blu-ray, as far as I can remember, has 2 versions of the film, one in black and white, so it looks like a proper 50s creature feature. Brilliant film, brilliant ending. Pisses a lot of people off. I thought it was great. And a film that hasn't got a lot of money spent on it because apparently the studio that wanted to make it wanted to change the ending, and Frank Darabont said no, I'd rather make it with less money and have the ending that I want. And well done, Mr. Darabont, sticking to your guns. Excellent collection, excellent film. Another huge book from Mr. King. It, a fantastic read. Is this better than The Stand? As an epic tale goes, I think it is. The stuff with the set in the 50s is just absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant. Love that cover as well. Yeah. You know, where am I going now? Yeah, we all float down here. Great book. Can't put it there. The 90s miniseries with Tim Curry as Pennywise. It's got John Boy from the Waltons in it as the sort of Stephen King character, the writer. It's really good for what it is. Again, limited by what you can do on TV and budget. It is good, but it's not as good as a lot of people make out. I'm not knocking it. It's a good film, or shall I say mini-series. It was in 2 parts, like Salem's Lot. It's not a movie. Very well done. But I have to say, what I saw of the new one, Chapter 1, was brilliant. Hopefully Chapter 2 is going to be even better. And of course, once that comes out as a double pack on Blu-ray, I shall get that. Brilliant book. If you've not read it, read it. And yeah, and okay, if it wasn't for Tim Curry's Pennywise, it probably wouldn't hold up so well. I'm your number 1 fan. That's something that he didn't want to hear. This is a fantastic book. A writer has an accident, gets rescued by his number 1 fan, and then is put through a series of tortures, as you do. Unfortunately, this cover makes Annie already out to be completely off a chump. That's something you don't realise until a bit later as you're going through. So although I kind of like the cover art, I think it's a bit too much. Great read though, and what a fantastic film from Rob Reiner again, who did Stand By Me. This is brilliant, and a fantastic cast. James Caan is brilliant in this, especially as he spends most of his time in bed. The hobbling scene is just makes you cringe. Kathy Bates is fantastic. 1 minute all sugary nice, next minute batshit crazy. Brilliant film, well directed. Brilliant screenplay by William Goldman. I love it. That is one of the best adaptations of a Stephen King novel. Fantastic stuff. And last up is The Green Mile. Now this is the 1-volume edition, which came out in '99, I think, but it had been previously serialised book by book in '96. I didn't get the individual books because they're only about 100 or so pages. They were still charging full rate, so you like $4.99 for a very thin book. You knew there were going to be 6 of them, which is quite a lot. Had they been like $1.50, yeah, I'd have bought them, but I thought, well, I'll wait till it all comes together in a 1 volume, which I did. This is it, and that was $10.99 at the time, so a really good book. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is great. And again, Mr. Darabont delivers the goods. Whereas The Shawshank Redemption was very much a drama, this has a supernatural element, and quite a big supernatural element. Just a brilliant film, heartbreaking it is. If you've never seen The Green Mile, I suggest you go and see it. It's quite a long film, but it's well worth the ride. Again, brilliantly written and directed by Frank Darabont, and outstanding acting from all involved. Probably one of my favourite Tom Hanks films, and I just love it. I saw it in the cinema and I was blown away. So there you have it. That's my Stephen King book and film collection. Hope you stayed with me to the end. Hope it wasn't too long. And if there's any that you haven't seen or read, hope I piqued your interest and you'll pick them up and give them a go. Thanks for watching.